Everybody, this is Max, and today I'm here to help break down the barriers to tournament cEDH. I'm joined by my friend and local tournament organizer, Mr. Doot himself, and we're here to tell you why showing up to locals matters, why showing up to big events matters, and why if you're sitting at home or playing in your kitchen table playing cEDH, why your community matters. Yeah, so I guess the big question then is like, as a TO for you, as a TO and a player, like what exactly does tournament cEDH mean compared to just whatever else cEDH?
Yeah, I mean, so tournament cEDH, I think it kind of has a couple different levels, you know? Like you have your, say like your weekly bronzes at your LGS, you have the monthly silvers or gold, and then you also have, if you're lucky, a large platinum event or even a diamond, And I think, at least to me, tournament cEDH is kind of a place where you can you can bring your deck and you can test it to kind of a level where your opponents are going to be like taking the games, I guess, seriously is a good way to put it.
Yeah. And I think the term tournament has a lot of connotations though, right? As someone who has kind of been playing like competitive Magic coming from 60 card, if you're playing, let's say your weeklies on Tuesday and, your parents call and ask you what you're doing tonight, like, do you tell them you're going to a tournament? Like, what exactly is it that you're, right? Like that's what I mean. Like, it sounds silly because tournament makes it sound so serious and stuffy, right? But like, it's really not, like, what's going through your mind as you're like getting ready to go play weeklies, right?
Yeah, I think that's not what is going through my mind, but I could absolutely see, if it's your first time going to the 16-man bronze for your weeklies, I could see you feeling like it's a tournament. I think something that you had brought up to me when we talked about this issue is, that jump from like 0 to 1,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so going from being a complete, casual or person who hasn't, played in any events, formal events before, to showing up to your first event, right? So like what was your first cEDH experience as far as like official?
Yeah, so I remember, God, it was so scary. Like and thinking back, like it really shouldn't have been. But it was a weekly bronze event. I think at the time we were like just firing at 20 players maybe. I remember I didn't have a top deck account. They're telling me, hey, you need to register for this website. The app wasn't even out yet, right? Like, to register for this website, go pay the guy at the counter, $10, and
Yeah, real money.
yeah, exactly. And I remember being so stressed about it. I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm going to this tournament tonight. Like, I don't know when I'm going to be back. It's a Wednesday. Like, I'm going to be there for hours. I had no idea what to expect. And I remember like round one feeling like so just like tense and nervous because you don't know what to expect, and it's unlike any other Magic tournament. I mean, before I had played, I'd played an RCQ, but like I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And I remember being so like tense about it and thinking like people are gonna like rule shark me and like, I'm gonna look like an idiot. And
Right.
I remember as soon as like that first round passes, you get that feeling of relief where you're like, oh, I'm literally just playing the same Magic I played last week, but
Right,
I paid the guy $10 and I might leave with $20.
Right. Yeah. It's funny to juxtapose that, right? It's whenever you kind of explain to someone first time, they're like, oh, you're playing for money. Like, what did you win? Like, it's like, yeah, sure. I won like $10 of store credit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's real, but it's still casual, right? It's only, it's competitive in that you're winning and there's stakes, but it's really only as serious as you want to make it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that really scales to any level that you want to be in, right? If I'm showing up to Breach the Bay, I'm excited to see people who I haven't seen in a while, hang out with my friends. Sure, there's big stakes on the line if I win, but that's not what round one is about, right? Round one is about just playing Magic.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean it's and I think it's also something that, kind of going back to that discussion of like the 0 to 1, like at this point, you and I have both played, I don't know, 20 to 60 cEDH events, right?
Yeah.
And so like we're at that point where, we're further down down that line,
Mm-hmm.
and so for us going to an event of 200, 300 people, it can be still a little bit daunting, but like I don't know, like I'm just showing up and like hoping to have fun and like hoping to do well. But I understand where a lot of new players would look at that and be like, "Oh, I'm going to be playing, you know, 6 rounds of Swiss, and I'm going to be in a room of maybe 500 people,
Right.
and just freaking out." And to that, like, I think something I kind of want to impress on people is like, yes, like you're amongst a tournament of like hundreds of people, but like you're still playing against the same amount of people that you would at like your weeklies, right? Like you're still just at your pod of 4 players. Like it's gonna be okay,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
remember I sat down round one of Breach One and said hi to my 4 opponents and told them that, oh, you guys are my paid friends for the next hour.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, I think the big, I don't know, it's kind of like the elephant in the room when it comes to like cEDH tournaments is there's certainly like an onboarding problem,
Yeah.
When you and I first talked about this, something that you had brought up was like there's a clear path, right? When you are thinking of like quote unquote like competitive Magic, and I
Right.
think we should go back to that later of like what is competitive Magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a clear path when you're thinking of like competitive Magic in the 60 card scene.
Yeah.
But there's not really a clear path for cEDH, and I think the way that you were explaining it made a whole lot of sense, and you can go ahead share that. But
Yeah, I mean it's a grassroots scene, so it's different, right? There's no in competitive Magic there's the term like organized play, which is the official Wizards tournament structure, which starts at FNM and ends at the Pro Tour / Worlds, and it's kind of a ladder system that is designed to help you ease into playing at larger tournaments with bigger stakes, with more serious rules in place, and cEDH doesn't quite have that. It's a very big, just like jump in, the water's fine,
pray, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is both good and bad. I think one of the things of like competitive Magic. Would I ever tell my friend to show up to rest in peace, a Grand Prix for their first competitive, Magic tournament? Probably not, because there's just like easier, better ways to kind of have your first experience and understand the rules of the road, so to speak. But for cEDH, I think the differentiator between your local bronze, you have your monthly silver or golds, and then you have Breach the Bay 2, which is coming to
Hey,
the
yeah,
area,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's like, how many people did we talk to at Breach 1 that this was their first event, either for Magic or for cEDH, and a bunch of them I see at weeklies still.
Yeah. No, I mean it was honestly it was a big shock where I feel like I followed what I would view as like not like the correct, but like maybe like the advisable like path for cEDH, where it's like there's the natural progression where like I think a lot of cEDH players come from casual EDH, right?
Yeah.
So that's the onboarding is like you start there, you're a casual player, and then you have the arms race, or or you move somewhere new in the play group. They're all at a higher power level. You have to adjust,
Right.
and then there's kind of that like, for some people they like to stay there, which is now like bracket 4, right? But others, they then want to explore like, well, what if we optimize? What if we are just looking for, the best, the most powerful decks that we could play in this format?
Yeah.
Then they go to cEDH. And so that's what I ended up doing, which was getting into, playing casual cEDH constantly, right? Like kitchen table, call a buddy over, play spell table, like as much as I could. It was just, constant play, 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 play. And then we ended up, we moved down to the South Bay, and I found, an awesome card store. And then I started playing at weeklies, right? So it was weekly, still casual cEDH, but you're playing against more, players who are traveling. They're playing tournaments. They're playing established decks. So you're kind of first getting your first kind of like taste of like what like a meta is, right? So you're playing against like the Blue Farms. You're playing against Kinnan, Rogsai, etc. And then after playing the casual weeklies, then all of a sudden someone organizes a bronze event, right?
Yeah.
And then you have your silvers, and then maybe you travel an hour and go to the gold event that's happening at like a Laughing Dragon or an SCG, right? And then you go from there and you scale, right?
Right.
But
I'm curious actually about that scaling.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you came and that you've played 1v1 Magic and kind of the in the organized play system we were talking about. Were you ever like a regular like FNM goer or playing Magic in any formal sense on the regular, or how did you like go from enjoying Magic in your private life to having something that would be sort of like a public facing Magic career, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, so when I say I played an RCQ, I mean I have played one RCQ, right? And I think, I would have loved to say yes, I went to FNM, in high school and in college, and then got into it, and I was going to RCQs and RCs and all that. But unfortunately, I got into Magic during COVID, like a lot of people, and I think a lot of cEDH players. And I think that's why like cEDH exploded. It was because that was the next natural progression for folks who wanted to be like quote unquote like competitive, for people who got into Magic during COVID, because you didn't have the FNM, you didn't have RCQs, you didn't have, what was kind of like the backbone of competitive Magic. You didn't have access to that. So I ended up getting into Magic through Commander, and then after playing enough Commander and kind of starting to explore like the higher power Commander bracket 4 now, my play group, one of the guys, he owned an LGS. And so he saw that I was very interested in, kind of exploring like these more like broken strategies. And so he was like, hey, like, you should actually give like Legacy a try. You should give Vintage a try. And so I would play Legacy with him. He had a couple decks. I then would proxy those decks up. And then, I remember, I don't know what drew me to it, but like a moth to a flame, Amulet Titan is just, it's something else. And so whenever I would go and play with them, we'd play EDH, and then after we'd play some Legacy games, or we'd draft or cube, and then I started asking like, oh, like who plays Modern? Like I keep watching these guys play Amulet Titan. It looks so much fun, and so my buddy was like, dude, like we don't really have Modern weeklies anymore, but there's we're hosting an RCQ. Do you want to come play in it? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to, but I don't own Modern cards, like I think my one card I had that I could play in Amulet Titan at the time was like a Swan Song in a sideboard, right? And so like many players playing these organized events, I was able to borrow basically the entire deck. And so that was my experience with Modern. Was I played I played Titan, and for whatever reason there was a huge resurgence of Merfolk, so I got like cooked in 3 of my rounds, but
nice.
Yeah, I mean, so that was kind of like how I got into, I guess, like quote unquote like the traditional like competitive Magic scene. But then after playing Modern, I was like, dude, I just I want to do stupid busted stuff that unfortunately I guess fortunately for most, like this format doesn't support, right? Like I want to have at the time the Soul Ring or Mana Crypt starts. Like I want to just like once you've had a taste of that, it's so hard to go back.
Yeah, I guess there's no vintage weeklies for you to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, that was that kind of got me into that, and then like I mentioned, like moving down to the South Bay, there was a really, really great scene. And like the entire, it's crazy, man. Like it's like a whole like butterfly effect. But the entire reason that I like am into this at all
Yeah.
is because, I was selling a card to someone online and they asked me to drop it off at the LGS that I ended up staying at forever, you know? And like walking in during weeklies and being like, oh my God, there's, 30 people here playing what I want to play.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of how I got into all that.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a very familiar story, both for myself and I think for lots of people, and I think that's really one of the important messages to anybody who's considering going to either the big events coming up or just taking that first step and showing up to weeklies and playing in an organized event. Is I think you kind of have these self-imposed thoughts that, oh, these are serious players, I'm not serious, I couldn't possibly do that. But it's so community driven for so many of these people, and it's not, I don't show up to weeklies every week to go crush noobs or whatever, or to win, right? Like
you do it anyway, but
yeah, sure. But
yeah.
I think like I'm not in a place where my record feels reflexive of anything else at my weekly events. It's there to see people, to hang out, to have fun. Maybe I'm trying out cards or trying out my deck, but that's not what gets me to leave my house. I can do that from spell table if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's to play Magic in a setting with people you want to be around, and like ultimately like play with people who have enough investment to show up.
Yeah.
Right? Like that at least that's what it was for me. I think we're both aligned on that. And I remember a point where we weren't aligned on that. I remember I didn't understand where there's a period that, just because like getting busy in life and such, I wasn't going to locals a lot. And I still haven't made my like full return. But I remember there was kind of a disconnect there where like I didn't understand it, where I was like, well, like he's not going for the invitational, like, whether you were capped on bronzes like didn't really matter. Or I think it was even like the season had just ended, and like there were all these like things that were kind of like what I think are kind of like glorified in our format,
I didn't want to play the best deck either, though.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, you wanted to not be amongst the sea of like the 20 plus ROG size. But I remember like you were still just like, even without the rest of our friend group, you're like, yeah, dude, it's Tuesday. I'm going to go play cEDH. And like, I kind of didn't understand that for a while, but then, coming back and playing and just being like, it's fine if it's not a big event. It's fine if you're not like winning or losing. Like you don't have to go like sweat it out every Tuesday and like white knuckle your way to winning $8 store credit, right? Like it was just about like seeing people and like experiencing paper Magic, you know, and I think that's something I'd like to kind of like impress upon people who, are scared of being part of that group at your LGS that's there till close and you're 3 rounds in, or you're scared of registering for your first like small event. It's like odds are 80-90% of the people there are just there because they want to be around people and play their favorite game, you know.
And and I think we're so fortunate in this hobby. I think there's so many other hobbies out there that if you were to tell people, you can just every week at on Tuesday at whatever time you can show up, and there's just 30 other nerds that are just as enthusiastic about this hobby as you are. And for you to tell people in that position, like, oh yeah, but I just don't show up because like I just don't need the bronze points. Like what?
It's like, what do you mean? No, and I think that's a fantastic point. It's like we're incredibly fortunate, not only that people are so interested in the same space, but also like we have a very healthy scene, and like that scene, it's not present everywhere. And it's like, if you're one of those people where like, I mean, dude, I think we all know someone who was driving 2 hours to weeklies, you know, or, you know, that takes the train after work and then it's 2 hours home or an hour and a half home. Like, it's 10 minutes, right? like, you know, so if you are one of those people where like you're walking into your game store and you're seeing people are there, like, take advantage of it while you have it, because not everyone does. And like,
Yeah, I spent 3 years in college driving every Friday to, in traffic, an hour and a half to go to Friday Night Magic.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's like, it's the decisions to just like join your local scene that like also keep it alive, right? Because like it's, I think because of that kind of misconception of like, or like those self-imposed like rules of like, oh, like I'm not going to fit in, it's going to be too serious, like these guys are tournament grinders, like blah blah blah, right? Like I think that stops people from coming into the format, and then other factors make people leave the format, right? Or even just like me, where it's like, I don't think I've left the format, I think I am more entrenched than ever, but like I don't get to locals every week, right? So like we need those people who are kind of on the bubble of being like, hey, I see this and I'm interested, to just be able to, feel comfortable taking that step in.
Yeah, and I think that goes doubly so for that next bracket up, for people who are only showing up to those weeklies or maybe making their way out for casual, open play days, seeing, larger events that are local to them and what it means to show up, right? Not everybody is flying in or driving in or however it is that you're getting to these bigger events with the idea that they're going to win first place, right? I came from a competitive background, I mentioned with both Magic, but also from swimming and playing sports. And, I could spend an hour talking about having a winner's mindset, but that's not what it's about, right? You're showing up because you want to experience this thing. It's the tournament is an aspect of it.
Yes.
So if that's what's stopping you from driving the extra 20 minutes to play in these big events, it shouldn't be.
No, I think that's like, I think it's a very like beautiful way to look at that, because I think most people who have attended, a large event, and I'm not even saying like it has to be, hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, 60 people is a lot of people, like if you can get to a gold event or, even like 40 people and play an entire day of Magic, like I think everyone who's gone to those, we all have horror stories, sure. But like when you're going to one of those first events where like you're just around that many people, like there's like an electricity in the air, and like being able to just kind of like tune out the noise of life and just play Magic for a whole day or 2 days is it's a huge privilege. And then at the larger sized events, right, like the Breach Debate 2, at these larger events, getting to see people that like you might only know as a username online, right? Or these are your Discord friends or the guys you're playing Spell Table with that live on the other side of the country. Like it's rare you get to have those opportunities to meet those people in person. And like, I can tell you for certain, the best experience I've had in Magic have come from traveling for it. Or, being at these events where people are traveling, where you're having these experiences that like kind of make all of the kind of like slog aspect of having a hobby like this worth it.
No, it's crazy because just even thinking back to this last month, right? The only reason why I went to the Emperor event in Japan was because the month prior I ran into a group of my friends that I used to play Magic with, years ago, pre-COVID, and discovered that they had also been playing cEDH, but, an hour and a half away. And one of them just happened to be in Japan at the same time as I was. And it's like, hey, let's go to this tournament together.
Yeah.
And, I was like, sure, why not?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's another thing too about the hobby is like, it's like hobbies are kind of like food in a way where like
they're this language that kind of like permeates like all the other barriers, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like I had the same experience. Like I played Magic in Japan too. You know, granted I played with a lot of expats, but you know we played with people that are from Japan that you know. I mean, they speak better English than I speak Japanese, but you know, there's a language barrier. But like, we
Yeah.
could still sit down
To
and
connect over this.
and just connect and play, you know. And I mean, they could read my deck more than I could read my deck, right? But you know, it's something nice where it's like you can go anywhere in your state or your country or like most places in the world and travel and have a community like instantly.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is important for people to know, where it's like taking that step from whether it is going from like kitchen table or spell table into your weekly events, or going from your weeklies into a larger event where like maybe you are traveling, or maybe you're, you know, going out of your comfort zone. Like that single event doesn't really matter, but it's about like stepping into that side of the hobby,
Yeah.
you know, and also like understanding that like being able to travel for these events is a massive privilege, right? Like
Yeah.
if you are in the you know, the financial situation that you can go across the country to go play Magic and probably lose money, like, you know, you're doing pretty well. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I just get jazzed up talking about it because like I don't know. I love this game, and it's been really cool. Kind of like dipping my toes in the whole like TO scene.
Yeah.
Because above anything else, you can really feel like you're building a community for people. You know, and also like we're all Magic players. Like let's be honest. Like a lot of us share a lot of similar qualities. Some of them better than others. And it can be hard to feel that community elsewhere, you know? And so like being able to provide a space where you're like, yeah, I can get 300 to 500 socially awkward adults in a room and having the time of their life, like it just feels awesome, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was having this conversation, you know, earlier this week with someone where we were talking about going to a tournament and playing the best deck that you don't want to play, and this idea of like prepping for an event and taking it super seriously. And eventually it kind of came down to it. And, you know, I told him, I said, you know, if I wanted to have a terrible time and make minimum wage, I would go get a job.
Yeah.
Like, that's minimum wage, and I'd have a terrible time.
Yeah.
And I'd make more money
Yeah.
on average than I would playing these tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, people aren't going out to these tournaments to
make a living.
make a living, right?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
No.
pay the pros, right?
There you go. No. But no, absolutely. I fully agree with that. And also, yeah, like if we all wanted to, I don't know, cEDH is like such a funny thing because just like the nature of the game of being, you know, a 4-player game, like one, like, yeah, you can go play the best deck. You can tech to what you believe will be the meta. I am of the belief the meta is fake. There's like 10 decks you'll see a lot of, but like it ebbs and flows with no real change to the card pool. It's just people saying, I digress, whatever. But like you're playing a game where like in optimal conditions, you're winning 25% of the time, right? So like don't be stressing about like, oh, I have to bring like the best deck and I'm teching against this perceived meta and like I'm going to like eke out like every little small percentage point of like EV. Like dog, you're gonna lose 3 out of 4 games, you know. Most people will. Like bring what
75% of the room is gonna lose round 1.
Yeah, exactly. Like bring what you want to play. Like you know, we were up in Portland earlier this year for the Quest, which was an awesome event. And you know, in the main event, I played Rogsai, but I really wanted to register Ral. And I had been playing the deck for about 3 weeks. And like goldfishing it a lot before that, but like actually in paper, like about 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm not confident enough in the deck to play it. I'm like, I'll probably do worse. I'm not going to register it. I ended up
ending the tournament, I don't know. I maybe had 2 wins. Like it was a rough tournament. And then redemption event, I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of like let go of some of that pressure of like, oh, I have to do well in this event. Like, I'm gonna, play Rogside, blah blah blah. Like, I was like, you know what? Like, I just want to have fun. Like, I scrubbed out. Let me play Ral, and like, I should have won that tournament, right? But like I top forward with it, right? And
Yeah.
like I left that tournament being like, damn, that was so much more fun than day one because I was playing the deck that I actually wanted to play that weekend, and like
Yeah.
whether or not like it was the correct deck for like the meta or your matchups, whatever, like it doesn't matter. Like it's a big enough tournament, you can't really predict what you're playing against outside of like Cannon and Blue Farm, right?
Right.
But I had a lot more fun.
Yeah.
You just do the thing you wanted to do,
Yeah, exactly. And on that same note, right, I decided to not put win cons in my deck and didn't win very many games.
Yeah.
But I had a great weekend too.
Yeah.
I don't regret flying out to this event and spending the weekend and meeting all these people that I had only known online, and just getting to spend time with people was a great time, even if I wasn't winning.
No, absolutely, man. I mean, there's like always that, I don't know. I mean, there's always that kind of like initial reaction when like when you do bad in an event or like you scrub out an event, you're like, damn, that sucks, right? But like, what's so nice is if you just kind of lean into it, you're like, dude, I'm around probably 100 to 200 other people who are in or like didn't day 2 and also just want to play Magic.
Yeah.
So you're like, you can kind of like redeem any like missteps you had in the day of like serious tournament Magic by just like having fun with your friends. And it's like, I don't know, it's like the old cliche that like it is about the gathering, but like it is, right? I mean, like, we could probably have better cEDH tournaments playing on like cockatrice, right? But like, God no, like if that was offered 24 hours a day, like I would not be doing that, right? Because like I want to be sitting across from my opponents. I want to be talking with people. I want to, see my friends, go get lunch, right? And I think that's a huge part of Magic and like competitive Magic that people are losing if they're not registering for events like this.
Yeah, exactly. For everyone who is still with us, I want to say big thanks to Jack for showing up and listening to me for all this time. Is there anything that you want to tell the people about what you're about?
No, I mean, just, go support events. Go to your locals, go to the weeklies, maybe try a monthly. And if you're feeling like it, come see us at Breach the Bay 2. It'll be August 22nd and 23rd in San Mateo, California.
Awesome. Cool. Peace. Congrats on making it all the way to the end. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you liked content like this in the more casual fireside manner, please let us know below by dropping a comment about your first cEDH event.